Latest football news, engaging debates,
and fascinating opinions.
Pitchside talk on IO Radio.
Well, welcome to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio at our new time of 5 o'clock on a Friday. Well, it's been 198 days since we were broadcasting last in the IO studio, having a great time, having so much banter, taking the mickey out of Ipswich Town and all that. But finally, we're back, keeping you updated with all the latest football news from the world of football with me, George Mann. Well, as always, I'm excited to welcome back one of our regular hosts and our League One expert, Dan. He's back. How are you doing, Dan? We haven't seen each other in 198 days.
Jesus, it's been a really long time, hasn't it? I'm so glad to be back, and yeah, I'm excited that we're back. We're back at a different slot this time, though.
Yeah, we're back on a prime time, so we're going to be actually quite good for once. Well, and somebody else who has been out on a season-long loan to another radio show, I can't mention for legal reasons, because we've now agreed a deal to share him. It's Piers. Does it feel good to be back, Piers? I finally got you. We're now doing
yeah. Yes, it's good to be back. I wouldn't say it's like the Bale deal. I'm trying to think of sort of a championship player who went to another championship club and has sort of come back. But yeah, it's good to be back. I'm happy to be here.
Now, I'm sure we're a Premier League club worth standard here. We're not championship.
No, yeah, of course not.
We're not Norwich. We don't do yo-yo seasons. Come on. We're a solid Premier League club. We're like Burnley. That's what we are. We're Burnley. We're solid. We get the job done. No finances. All's good. Well, we've got a jam-packed show for you today. We're going to be talking about Ipswich Town because they're doing quite well at the moment. This is weird. I think when we left, they were doing awful. Now they're doing well. Something's gone wrong. It's 2020. Everything's going wrong. We've got the Premier League. That's back. The new season's back. And also, we have a bit of a controversial topic at the end of the show, which I'm not going to reveal until we hit the end of that because it's a bit mixed in the football world at the moment. But we will be talking about that right after this.
Stay up to date with the latest footy news.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Well, welcome back to Pitchside Talk on IO Radio at Fridays at 5 p.m. And now finally, we're going to be talking about Ipswich Town. This is weird to say. Ipswich Town headed to the top of League One after scoring 2 goals in the final 10 minutes against Bristol Rovers. This result shows that the Wigan game wasn't a fluke. It looks like things are on the up. But we said that last season, Dan, when Ipswich were doing well at the first part of the season. It all went wrong by Christmas. But is this year different now?
Well, I think it's a bit too early to say whether this season's going to be different or not. I know it's been 2 games. We've played well. We haven't conceded a goal yet, but it's the same story as last season, isn't it? It's just we're playing really well at the start of the season. And I'm just a bit worried what's going to happen in the future. But yeah, I think it shows that Wigan weren't a fluke. I think we played some good football against Bristol Rovers. I think it was kind of even for the first 70 minutes. I think there wasn't really any clear-cut chances until the goal, except Edwards, who got cleared off the line, didn't he? So. Yeah, it wasn't really too many chances up till then. But, the last half an hour, 20 minutes, we looked really, really good. And, we passed it around really well. The midfield looked excellent. I think Nolan and Giselle looked fantastic. So, yeah, it was a brilliant win in the end against Bristol Rovers. We showed we can beat them in the Cup, but to beat them in the league as well, I think that's a good statement for the rest of the teams in the league. And it's good so far.
Well, Piers, the last time Ipswich Town were top of the league was Southend when they won 3-1, which was in October 2019. It's a long time since the Town have been top of the league, but this is quite a good strong start by them because we didn't expect this at the start of the season. What's been sort of going on behind the scenes and how last season ended, but Ipswich are back, aren't they?
Of course, HMS 2.0, 100 points, 100 goals. Ipswich are on the way. Believe the hype. Yeah, I mean, after the pre-season they had, I think we were all a little bit doubting really, like thinking, what's going to happen here? Looks like Lambert sort of looks like he's lost the dressing room. And I think Ipswich have done well. And I think from that Bristol Rovers game, that shows because they'd already played him in the Cup and to beat him again and get a clean sheet was good. And for them to not have conceded a goal yet is good again. So you can only praise it, like Dan said, and everybody knows, by the time it gets to Christmas, it could be a totally different story. But at the moment, there's no false groups, which they look good and like they did last season. So hopefully they can learn from their mistakes from last season and hopefully keep it up.
Hopefully they can keep it up. Well, this result's quite massive, really, because Ipswich didn't really look too great in the game. I know they did quite well in the last 5 minutes, but they didn't really look like they were going to come out and win it. Bristol Rovers are a very defensive-minded team. We've seen that. Sunderland found that out. They drew 1-1 to them. But going forward in the future, this result looks like it's going to be quite massive because Ipswich can now go, we didn't perform well, but we still got that win. That's going to give the side such a confidence boost, isn't it?
Yeah, it will definitely give the players a confidence boost, and I think the fact that we're not really changing the team around, I think that's also going to play into the players' hands. I think, we weren't amazing against Bristol Rovers until the last 20 minutes. I think we showed what we can do, but I think this result is really good. I think, going into the game against Rochdale tomorrow, I think that we're looking really good, and I think we're really confident going into that game and we can win it. So I think this result really, really helped, and the fact that we kept a clean sheet as well, I think that was big as well. So obviously we don't know how these teams are going to do. Anything could happen in this league, so we don't know how good Bristol Rovers will be this season. They had a decent season last year, but they've lost their main striker. So we don't really know how the teams that we've played are going to be, but it's still 2 wins, 4 goals, and no goals conceded. So all positive so far.
Yeah, it looks like consistency is key, isn't it, Piers?
Yeah, I think that is, and I agree with Dan. As long as they're not rotating the players too much. So I think that's a mistake that happened last year. They were having changing the whole squad every few games. So it's good for that, and I think that'd be good for Ipswich for consistency. And they're beating some teams that you think are going to do all right in the league this year. You'd like to think so. To do that, and I don't think you look at teams like Liverpool who won the league recently. They're not perfect every game, but they still find the way to get the win, and that seems like something Ipswich will be able to do this season. So I don't think it's always too important about the performance, as long as they get the win, as long as they keep stacking those up and not dropping silly points like they were doing last season around Christmas time. Then they should be all right.
Should be all right. Touch wood. We'll just touch wood first. They should be all right. Well, in the 63rd minute, Lambert turned to his bench. Shock, horror. I don't think we've ever seen him turn to his bench this early in a game, but he brought on Lancaster, his first game in 602 days for the young player. And he came on and he changed the game really for Ipswich. He gave him that creative spark, getting 2 assists in the end. It looks like Jack is back, isn't he?
Yeah, it does. And, he came on and made a difference. I can't remember the last time he played. I think it was in the Championship the last time he played for us.
It was against Blackburn in a 2-0 loss.
Yeah, so it was a long, long time ago. And he can be a fantastic player. I really like the look of him. I think he's got great talent and he can be a really good player in the future. So to see him come back and go straight in the team and get 2 assists, I think that's a really good sign. And, as soon as he came on, it looked like he changed the game. So I'm really happy that he's past his injury now. Let's hope that he doesn't get another one, because I know what our players are like. It always happens. So let's hope he stays fit and can, break into the first team squad.
I suppose, Piers, if he stays fit, he could be quite crucial for its Town season, because Ipswich have good wing players, but where he came on and made such an impact, if he could do that in 27 minutes he played, what's he going to be like in the 90?
Yeah, I think it's also good. So it shows that Lambert's got the depth and he's got the options within it. So when say you're away and it's a 0-0 against a good club, that you can bring that player on and they can make a difference to the game, which I think sometimes it's struggle with. They don't have players that they can rely on the bench or someone on the pitch that they can use to make an impact. So if they've got him and a few other players that can do that, then that will only benefit them over the season.
Well, one of the biggest questions on Ipswich Town's lips is Flynn Downs. He came on off the bench again. He added some more bite and some more control to that midfield, not making still a big impact, but not as much as Jack Lancaster see in the headlines. But I think the biggest question has got to be on everybody's lips at Ipswich Town is, should he be starting? I know they play Rochdale tomorrow. Should he be starting for Ipswich Town? I know he wants to go Crystal Palace are putting in bids for him, not enough for the club. But he's an Ipswich Town player at the end of the day. Should he be starting? Because he's shown that he is one of the best midfielders in this league.
Yeah, and this question is dividing Ipswich fans because some are saying he shouldn't be playing because he's refused to play, so why should he play? But then there's my side where I say he's our best player, so he should be starting whatever. He's our player. So yeah, I think that I would like to see him start. I think he'll probably be on the bench tomorrow. So, but he's our best player, and I really think he should just. I don't know if we're going to reject offers of 2 million, say that Crystal Palace come in and try and sign him for, then he's going to be our player at the end of the transfer window. Obviously, the offers need to be higher, so he's going to be our player at the end of it. So as long as he's our player, I think he should start. And you can see what a difference he makes when he's on the pitch. You really can, and he can definitely be our best player, maybe even the best player in the league. I hate to say that, but yeah, he's a fantastic player, and I think he should just start. That's it.
Yeah, Piers, should he be starting? Dan's saying he's the best player, but Ipswich are like, well, we're not going to play him. But he came on and he looked very good. Should he just be starting? Just get over it, start, knuckle down, and if you go, you go.
Yeah, I think that would be the best thing. I think if they'd spoken to him and said, sort of, Crystal Palace want to get you, we'll sell. So just put in these performances for now, or if they've spoken about possibly him moving in January, you never know with the club. So, and he could put 100% in for his last few months at Ipswich. But with this sort of not playing, half playing, not, I don't know whether it's because his head's not in the right space because he's thinking about that and he doesn't care too much about Ipswich now because he's got the thoughts about the Premier League. That I could understand that might be a reason why they're not playing him. But realistically, you're that player. That club's done a lot for you. So. I would say that it would be best to play, but I could also understand if his mentality is not there and he has and it can affect the team in a negative way, then I can understand them not playing him. But I can't imagine him being that sort of player that would sort of kick up too much of a fuss. So I think they probably should get into play.
Yeah, look, it looks like it's Paul Lambert's new tough love approach. I think we can now call it. It looks like that's now coming to full fruition, and it looks like it's working at the moment. If we can sort of say. Hypothetically, the first 2 games, it's working, his tough love approach.
Yeah, I think so far it seems to be working. It's a massive switch of mentality from last season. Because obviously last season, if you're good in training, you got in the first team squad. So, he's changed that a lot. And maybe that's the key to success. I don't know. So we'll have to wait and see. It's only 2 games in. I hate to get positive, but it's looking good.
Well, we've got to remember 100 points, 100 goals. The ship's at sail. We can't stop now.
Yeah,
We've got to keep going. We've got to keep going. Well, Ipswich Town have had a few busy days in the transfer window as well. With some players, with one player leaving and one player joining. The first player to leave was El Mazzuni. He returned to Cambridge United on loan. He was there last season as well, where he made 7 appearances and 1 goal. Is it a good move, him going out on loan to get some more experience in League 2? Because he's made a handful of appearances for Ipswich Town in the Championship, but nothing noteworthy to write home about. But is this good, him going back out on loan again?
Yeah, I think it's a good move for him. Obviously, as you said, he hasn't shown what he could do in the league yet. He's played a few cup games that he's performed well in. But I think going out to Cambridge again, I think is a good thing. He suffered with that injury last year that cut his loan short, so that was not great for him. But going back there, I think he can really show what he can do, and the fans love him there. So I think it's definitely a good move for him. And who knows, in the future he could break into our first team squad if he keeps putting performances in. So yeah, good move for me.
Yeah, I don't know too much about the player personally, but as long as sort of the club know that they can afford to let him be loaned out, if you know what I mean, like squad wise, and they can afford to have him missing, then I would say that's more than fine.
Well, another signing Ipswich Town made. They made a signing. One player went out, one player joined in Mark McGuinness, not related to Paddy McGuinness whatsoever, as all the fans were saying. He's come on loan from Arsenal's under-23s. He looks like he's a centre-back. He's previously played against Ipswich Town this season in the EFL Trophy, winning man of the match. He looks like quite a tidy player, but he's going to come in and provide a little bit more support at the back because, we've got Vincent-Young's out, Luke Wolverton's out. That looks a bit more serious now with him coming in. possibly in the future, and also Corey is out as well. But we don't really know too much about him, but he could be possibly starting against Rochdale. That's the big sort of news. He could be starting for Paul Lambert on Saturday. This is going to be quite interesting.
Yeah, it will definitely be interesting. It will be good to see if he gets in the starting 11. But I do think this is a really good signing. You know, we saw what he could do against us in the cup in the trophy. So yeah, he got the man of match in that game, and I think he was one of the standout players. So yeah, I really like this signing. It might mean that Wolfenden's out for a bit longer, or Kane Vincent-Young as well, because Chambers has been going to right back and been playing quite well there. So yeah, maybe this signing is showing that some of our players have got longer injuries than we thought, which typical Ipswich, that always happens. But yeah, I do think that's a really good signing from us. He looks like a class player, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do.
Yeah, I think it's a good signing for Ipswich. I think it's nice that they've got a nice young player in from Arsenal to get him in there. It's nice to see they're not bought a sort of, they instead of buying a 36-year-old who played for Burnley 10 years ago or something like that. It's nice to see that they've brought someone young who probably provide a bit of flair. Something maybe like a Webster or something. Someone who can bring something to the table for Ipswich. So I think it'll be interesting to see how he does. And I think in League One, I think he'll play quite well.
Will be quite interesting to see. They might buy him. We do not know. Hopefully he'll be good. I think we all hope he's good. But yeah, it's nice to see a new centre back in, because usually all the centre backs they sign, have played for Burnley 10 years ago, or they've made so many appearances for international level, but they haven't been playing for the last 5 years because what's ever happened? Like Steve Ward,
isn't it? That's who you're explaining. That's who it is.
Yeah, I thought you would get the hint. Well, this Saturday, Ipswich Town are back at Portman Road, facing Rochdale in League One. The last time these two sides met, Ipswich Town were top of the league, and they won 1-0 back in November. This is one of the games Ipswich Town were supposed to be playing, but didn't get a chance to because of the season getting avoided in the end. But this season, Rochdale are not looking good. They're sitting 21st. They've got only 1 point, a loss and a draw. Guys, what could we possibly expect from this game, and what's going to be the score prediction for Ipswich Town versus Rochdale?
Yeah, I'm quite confident going into this game. Obviously, we've had 2 good performances and 2 good results in the league. So, going into this game, I think we're quite confident. At home as well, I think we'll be favourites going into the game. Yeah, Rochdale haven't really had a good start. Their keeper did get in Team of the Week last week, or this week, whenever. So that's the one thing. They've got a decent keeper, so we have to be aware of that. But I think our team's good enough to beat them, definitely. I'm going to go for a 2-0 win again.
Yeah, I think they've looked good in their last few games. I think they'll keep the momentum up. Like you said, Rochdale haven't had the best start, but their keeper's quite good. So I think Ipswich will come out like they have done in the next few games, or the last few games, and get the win by around a bit 1-0 to Town.
Well, and some fascinating opinions there about Ipswich Town. Looks like everything's all rosy at the moment. The ship has set sailed, 100 points, 100 goals. Everything looks good so far. And when we come back, we talk about the Premier League, where it was goals galore this week.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
So welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio at 5 p.m. on a Friday on our new time slot, which is quite weird to say because usually I've been used to saying Wednesdays at 2 p.m, but now it is Fridays at 5 o'clock. Previously we were talking about Ipswich Town, but we won't be talking about it at the moment. Before I forget to mention, if you want to follow us on any of our social medias, it's pretty simple. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk, Instagram is Talk_pitch, YouTube and Mixcloud are both Pitchside Talk if you want to listen back to any of these shows. If you want to, actually on YouTube, you can now watch us. You can now actually watch us as a vlogcast, I think they call them, where you can actually see our faces when we talk. So if you don't want to listen to us as an audio version, because it's funny to see us laugh and take the mickey out of Dan and Piers half the time. See, they're loving life. Well, as I mentioned in the previous link, the Premier League is back and it kicked off on its second game week of matches with all 20 teams in action. And we had 44 goals from across the 10 games. And here are the results from those games. So Everton kicked off this match week with a 5-2 victory over West Bromwich Albion. Leeds won 4-3 against Fulham. Manchester United lost 3-1 to Crystal Palace, which is quite funny. Arsenal won 2-1 against West Ham. Southampton lost 5-2 to Tottenham. Newcastle lost 3-0 to Brighton. Chelsea lost 2-0 to Liverpool. And Leicester won 4-2 against Burnley. And in Monday's games, we had Aston Villa versus Sheffield United. That finished 1-0 to Aston Villa. And Wolves lost 3-1 to Manchester City. Well, starting off at the top of the table, Leicester City currently. They sit top of the table. The last time they won their last 2 league opening games was the 15/16 season, which they sat top. And that season, they won the Premier League. But Brendan Rodgers said that they're not thinking about winning the league, but as me as a stat man, the stars are aligned. You know, is it going to happen? I know it probably won't, but they're at top of the league. They finished top of that season, but it looks like if they're not going for the league, it looks like the last season had a very bad end, come back out of lockdown. But it looks like they've put that behind them this season.
Yeah, they've definitely been looking good. I know the first 2 games, you know, West Brom and Burnley, it's not too difficult for Leicester, I don't think. But yeah, they've been looking really good. I don't know how many signings they made. I can't really remember, but one that was Castan, wasn't it? I can't remember how to pronounce his name, but yeah, they've looked pretty good. Whether they can win the league, I know they were top at this time in their title-winning season, but that is a massive ask, especially with teams like Liverpool, Man City and Chelsea in the league. So whether they can win the league, don't think so. But, you know, a good start. And, you know, you can only see this as a positive for them. Maybe, you know, they'll try their hardest to stay around the top 4. It's going to be difficult to get that, though, I think. So, yeah, good start for them, though.
It looks like at the moment, because we all predicted Leicester to finish outside the Europa League spots, not to have a good season. But at the moment, it looks like they're proving us all wrong, really. At the moment, I know it's only 2 games in, but it's looking quite good at the moment. It looks like they've put that bad season, the last season, that bad end behind them now, and it looks like they're now building on that.
Yeah, I mean, Leicester look good. I mean, I think they're a bit like Ipswich. I think you've got to see how they do over the long haul. I think, you know, it's all good praising them at the start, but they have looked really well. And I think that what they're going to try and do is definitely solidify themselves as a Europa League team. I think that's what they need to do, or even make sure they get themselves to try and get that Champions League spot, which I think is going to be. I think the Champions League spot will be a bit too hard for them this season, just with teams that have been rebuilding. But I think if they can get themselves that 5th or 6th place again this season, I think they should be more than happy because the team is looking good. And I think if they do that again, they can start to bring in even more bigger players and then push for that top 4 because they are a good side, Leicester. You know, they did win the Premier League, you know, not too long ago. So it is a good draw. But if they win in the Premier League again, I think that won't happen. I think they were lucky in that season with how the teams do. I mean, it was a broken Man City, a rebuild, and Liverpool, wasn't it? At Chelsea that finished 10th, and Arsenal being Arsenal. But you know, they done well. But I don't think they'll be able to win the league again this year.
Well, we must say Tottenham as well. They bottled it that season as well. So
standard.
But that is standard. But it does look like the stars align. But it's a bit of a tough ask to say. Well, the team that currently sits in second is Everton. After 2 wins from the first 2 opening games, they won. The last time they won the first 2 opening games was back in the 12/13 season. Dominic Calvert-Lewin getting his first ever hat-trick. James Rodriguez scoring on his debut. We can now finally see the hard work that Carlo Ancelotti has done. You know, Everton look very good, which is very concerning to say as a Liverpool fan because I don't really want Everton to do particularly well. But at the moment, it looks like they can go above and beyond what people expect them to do this season. But they look very good.
Yeah, they do. You know, I thought they were going to have a better season than they had last year. Obviously, the signing of James Rodriguez and Allen as well. I think there's 2 very good signings. Obviously, Rodriguez has shown what he could do. He's been fantastic in the first 2 games for Everton. Obviously, Calvert-Lewin's been brilliant as well. He's scored a lot of goals. So it's looking really good for Everton. I think, you know, with a world-class manager like Carlo Ancelotti, I think they'll do really well this year. Whether they're going to get into Europe, I think, again, that'll be a tough ask. I don't think they're really good enough to get into Europe, but, you know, it's a good step in the right direction. And I think if they can keep Ancelotti and keep these good transfers coming in, then I think in the future, who knows, they might be able to challenge for Europe. But this year, I think it'll be a bit tough for them.
It looks like Everton have finally now got the right people in and made the right decisions. We know sort of under Marco Silva, they got a good manager and a very good young manager, but the transfers are right. And then we saw that under Ron Koeman, the transfer right again. And Sam Allardyce, that's a weird point, Sam Allardyce. But under Carlo Ancelotti, they now got somebody he's been there, he's done that, he's won leagues across the whole of Europe, and he's now bringing that sort of style to Everton, which Everton have been craving for years.
Yeah, I mean, Everton have had the players come in and they've had the managers come in, but they've never gelled together. Everybody thinks every season, sort of Everton, when they buy players, they always seem to flop. But with a world-class manager like Ancelotti, who's already won the Premier League and has won an FA Cup in this country, and with the players he's got in, it seems they've kicked off really well, especially Rodriguez. He's looked, formidable in that team. I think he's looked brilliant. I think he's looked really good for them. And he didn't get much time at Real Madrid towards the end, so it's brilliant to see him doing well. But I think, Everton will do well. Well, I don't know, actually, because there's only 2 games in. I think, everyone starts to get a bit carried away. Let's see how they do against sort of, Liverpool, Manchester City, even a team like Wolves. I think, they done well against Tottenham, but they weren't really fit enough and they played West Brom. So I think it is still early doors for Everton. There might be a little bit of hype behind them, but I don't know. Like I said, it's only 2 games, and I think once you get to 12, 13 games, I think you'll start to see what Everton are really going to do this season. But, with Ancelotti, he's a world-class manager, so I can't imagine them doing too bad.
Well, I hope so as a Liverpool fan, because seeing Everton above Liverpool at the moment, I know it's 2 games in, I know they're on the same amount of points, but it's a bit concerning. It's just a little, it gets the heart racing. You go, oh God, is it their season this time? I'll go, oh no season this time. So from one end of the table to another, Manchester United, they started off their season very badly with a loss, which makes me very, very happy. The last time they lost their opening day fixture was back against Swansea in 14-15 season under Louis van Gaal. It's his first game as charged as Manchester United manager, but they had an extra week off. They looked flat, but things off the pitch and on the pitch don't look too great for Manchester United, especially with transfers. Ed Woodward spoke in the programme saying about the impact that lockdown and not having fans back has had on the football finances at Manchester United. But at the end of the day, it's Manchester United. They should be going for good players. I'm a Liverpool fan, and I'm going to say this: they should be going for players. They should be going for the best. They're the best, one of the biggest teams in the world, and they can't fork out money to go and buy the best. But it doesn't look very good, firstly, for Manchester United on the pitch. They looked a bit awful, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. They looked really poor. The thing with transfers, Edward was saying stuff about the pandemic has made an effect, but it's a load of rubbish. It's excuses. That's what it is. Because we've seen Chelsea, we've seen Liverpool, we've seen all those teams spend money, and Man United are probably one of, if not the richest club in England. So, yeah, I really don't see why that would affect it. But I don't know. Maybe there is a reason. But yeah, they've signed Van der Beek, which could be a good signing. But he scored in the first game, which I guess is a positive. But I guess we'll see how he does. But yeah, they were really not good against Crystal Palace. I know it's been 1 game, but there is a lot of problems at Man United right now. They need to sort it out. I don't know how it's going to get better from here. It just looks like a downward slope at the moment. I don't think they're going to stay down the bottom for long, but will they get into the top 4 this year? I predicted they will, but it's going to be tough.
It will be tough. Well, the problems that I guess you're referring to, we saw them last season, and then when it hit, when they came back at the lockdown period, they looked really good again, and the problems were all fine, but they're now resurfaced again. It just shows that Manchester United think that everything's fixed, but it isn't really.
Yeah, as much as I love seeing Manchester United lose, it's starting to get annoying. One of my closest mates is a Manchester United fan, and I'm sick of him moping about all the time because, to be honest, with Manchester United, it's crazy what's going on with those owners. The Glazers and Woodward. It's ridiculous because when I was growing up, Manchester United was sort of, the best team in the world. It was them versus Arsenal for the titles. And then when Chelsea came along, it was them versus Chelsea. And you used to hate playing Manchester United. You used to go up to Old Trafford and think, God, I'm not looking forward to this game. You used to hate it. If you ever played them in the Champions League, you'd hate it. And now everything's turned around. It's a joke, really. They're bored, and to be honest, as a fan, Chelsea, and we've had a few, only a few bad seasons really with transfers. I can only imagine what it's like to be a Manchester United fan, and a part of me sympathises with it because the standard of players that they bring in sometimes is ridiculous. Even if, as a rival fan, I think you can say they're Manchester United. That's not a sort of place we have. And sort of Harry Maguire is not a Manchester United player. You look at the history of the players they've got. He's not a Manchester United player. Some of those players they've got, I don't think players like Matic is a Manchester United player after the class that they've had. But I mean, regardless of that, they were poor in that game against. That game against Crystal Palace, Luke Shaw didn't look great. I think, his time sort of come at Manchester United, unfortunately. I don't think he's ever fully recovered from his injury, unfortunately for him. I think Mourinho might have had a part to play in that with everything. But overall for Manchester United, they need to buy players. They want to be, I said at the start of the season, if they could get a couple more players in that they could push on. But I think they need some major changes to the club. I think they've got some of the players. They've got some class players. And I think if they keep those owners and even the manager, really, I think that they could be wasting the talent that they have there.
I can't believe that you're sick and tired of Manchester United losing. I think it's, they mocked, as me as a Liverpool fan here, they mocked us for years for being awful and poor. For me, it's like, you're just getting what you deserve, really. You mocked us for being poor, now you're being poor, and now we can just get our little bit of sweet revenge.
I feel like the odd one out here because I've got nothing against Man United whatsoever. Well,
you're just a neutral. You're just a neutral, Dan. Don't worry about it. Well, from one big club to another, Chelsea, they faced a very brutal reality check on Sunday after losing 2-0 to Liverpool. But it was an awful game for Kepa Arrizabalaga. I think I said his name correctly there. He passed the ball to Mane, leading to the second goal. It looks like it's the final straw of Frank Lampard. He has now signed a goalkeeper in Eduardo Mendy. They signed him yesterday morning. Looks like he's going to be their new number one. But I have to ask you, why is Lampard still playing him? Because Kepa, it's pretty obvious his confidence is shot to bits. Last season, he wasn't playing towards the end of sort of the lockdown season, but he continued to play them again. Surely, if you're not playing him then, why does that make a difference now to play him again? And he's not going to perform well.
Yeah, it's really odd. He's on really, really awful form. So the fact that he's still starting games is quite weird. I know Caballero, I guess he's an okay keeper, but he's not world class, is he? But when a keeper's not on form, then you need to play your second keeper, see how they can do. Obviously, Frank Lampard thought that Kepa was their best keeper. So, he started him. But yeah, it's really odd, the fact that Kepa's been on awful form. How long now? For ages now. So, yeah, it's a really odd one. Yeah, exactly. It's really odd. But what can you do when Frank thinks he's the best keeper? He's going to start him. So, yeah.
Is Frank just playing him because, he's the most expensive goalkeeper in the world? We have to remember this here. And Caballero, he's a good goalkeeper, but if you look at the end of the day, is he 39 now, Caballero? He's 39, 40, isn't he?
Yeah.
So is that the reasons why he can't... Is he playing because of those factors? But at the end of the day, he wasn't playing at the end of the season. Why has he just now gone, there you go, free back in again?
I think he was trying to give Kepa a chance. I think when Kepa first joined under Sarri, he wasn't too bad. I quite liked him, and then towards the end he made the mistakes, and obviously the League Cup final, and then he made that save against Frankfurt in the penalty shootout, and he was sort of a good player. And obviously he's gone downhill from there with Lampard, and it just seems to get worse. And I think with his confidence being low and then making mistakes, it's just been terrible for him. I do still think that he's got the talents to be a good goalkeeper, but unfortunately for him, it's just, I think everything bad that could have happened to him has happened. But with Caballero, I don't rate him as a goalkeeper either. Whenever I've seen him, he spills the ball. He makes a lot of mistakes himself. The best thing about him is that he can save a penalty. But in regards to the keepers, it's been hard for Chelsea. And I was talking about Manchester United's past. You think about how Chelsea evolved. How long we went unbeaten at Stamford Bridge. back in the day in Czech and the the brilliant time he had there, and the Snake Courtois. He was a good goalkeeper there until he left. But I don't know. I think this Mendy will be good for Chelsea. I think with him and also the additions in defence with Thiago Silva and Chilwell, it should be good. It should be good, but you never know. I think it's time for Chelsea to really perform against those big teams. A loss against Liverpool isn't great. So I think we just need to see how we perform against sort of the Tottenhams, Arsenals and Cities.
Yes, we will have to wait and see. Well, that is our Premier League round. There's some interesting thoughts, especially about Leicester win the league, which I think will happen because the stats are slowly aligning up. You never know. You never know. They did it once. They could do it again. But we'll be back after this little short message and be talking about our little interesting debate, which is, I think, dividing the world of football at the moment. We can easily say, can't we, guys?
Yeah.
Yes, we can. We'll be right back after this.
The best place in Ipswich to hear the latest football debates, Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Well, welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio Fridays at 5 p.m. We're getting near to the end of the show now, but we have one more topic left. The controversial topic which has been dividing football fans up and down the country. A lot of them quite unanimous, but there's a few that are not. And it's big news that fans will not be returning to football matches until March at latest. The whole football world and sporting world received some massive blow on Tuesday as the UK government scrapped the fan trials for possibly 6 months. This is mad. I think the last time fans went to a football game was the 7th of March, if I remember correctly. So it's going to go a whole year without fans going to sporting events. This is going to have a massive financial implication on clubs. The Premier League said that clubs are going to lose about 700 million per season altogether, having no fans. EFL clubs, 200 million altogether without fans. This looks like it's going to be worrying times for clubs up and down the country. Even if you're the richest club in the world, this is quite major.
Yeah, it is. Fans are what make football. It's how clubs are run, isn't it? They use the money, the income they get from ticket sales for a lot of things. So, it's massive implications for English football, definitely. Obviously, I think teams in probably the top 3 leagues will be okay. I think they have, the backing that can help them survive. There's maybe some teams in League 2 that may struggle. Mainly the teams that have come up from the National League, probably Harrogate and Barrow, they may struggle. But, it's the non-league teams that are affected. It's going to be a massive struggle for them this year. A team like, I don't know any non-league teams, but there's probably some that, are funded and they'll be fine. But there's always some that, they need fans in the stadium. And, it's going to be a massive blow to them. And it's going to be tough for, non-league teams, especially the National League, to go on with this season. It really is. We've seen lower league teams, they seem to be letting fans in. I don't know if that's going to still go ahead. I'm not really sure about that. But, it's definitely, the National League and probably the 2 leagues below that as well that are really going to struggle during this period.
Yeah, I mean, it's terrible news because, I think everybody misses that sort of, that match day feeling when you get down to the stadium and you hear the atmosphere and you get in there like, I'd do anything to get to a Chelsea game right now. I miss it so much. But, it's a real shame, especially, and I am worried for the lower teams. I think that, obviously safety, but I think the government needs to look after these clubs, or somebody, someone has to look after these lower clubs because they are important to football. All the way down to grassroots needs to be supported because that's the lifeblood of football. Without that, you don't get stories like Lincoln in the FA Cup and stuff like that. And there's so much you miss out on. And teams like Ipswich, I'd say Ipswich Football Club is the life and blood of the town. Without Ipswich, without the club of Ipswich is nothing. So it is so important, and it's a shame that it's been held back. But I like to think that they're trying everything they do to try and get people in as soon as possible. But I think those lower clubs need to be supported as much as possible because football is more than just a game to a lot of people and for the towns and for the clubs, and they need as much support as possible.
Well, you said there about the National League. They're now set to delay the start of the seasons because they want the fans to return back to stadiums because they do need the money. I think Dover Athletic, who won the teams in the National League, they said that they could go out of business in the next 2 weeks through not having fans back. They had to pay, I think it's 80 grand a week. They said they have to pay. They're on about that. They can't afford that. And soon they're not going to be able to afford that, and they're going to go bust. Colchester chairman, and he's saying that more staff are going to have to be let go. He's written a letter to the government about why can we not have fans back. We've done all the safety protocols, all this. Rick Perry, the owner of EFL, feels the decision's a little bit bizarre. Also feels quite disappointed because this Saturday was supposed to see some trials, supposed to see 7 trials, and he said all of them were going to go very well because they meet all the standards. And one of the clubs that were supposed to have fans back this week was Ipswich Town, and they were supposed to be one of the clubs running the test events. They've been pushing to have fans back, and this decision is going to be made around for all the clubs around the UK. But like clubs like Ipswich and the teams that are lower down, they rely a lot on match day income. This is the life and blood of the football club. If you don't have that, they're not going to survive. But do you feel on an overall basis, all the clubs I think we could say from League One down, they need financial support? This is not going to be, there were no fans, people are going to be let go and clubs are going to go bust, and we're going to have no, like you said, no grassroots football.
No, and that's a big thing. Grassroots football is what's made what the English leagues are. So, it's really sad to see this happening. League One clubs and below, I think they will need financial backing. It's going to be really difficult to go another 6 months without fans not coming in. And as well, people that work there, the jobs that are being lost, the amount of, people that work in ticket offices and the people that, make the food on match day, they can't run their businesses either. So I think it's really, really, I agree with the EFL, head EFL guy. I think, when he said it's a bizarre decision, I really do think that it's strange, because I think that, the testing, the trials that were going ahead this weekend, Ipswich are going to do it as well, as you said. If that went successfully, I think, they could add slowly more fans go to games again each week. So, yeah, it's a massive blow. And to go another 6 months without fans in the stadiums, it's going to be massive. It really is. Yeah,
it's going to be major for clubs like this. I think one of the other owners was Peterborough United. He always likes to have an opinion on something, but he's had his massive opinion about this. But we're seeing successful trials. We saw them last week in Norwich. There was 1,000 fans. That went well. What? I know the situation is currently always changing, but why can't we not be back? We can do it safely, easily.
Yeah, I think it's just to save face. I think it's just to look like something is being done, to be honest. I think, if the trials are going well, I think that should be, the safety should be in the hands of the EFL and the Premier League, and they could take that upon themselves, because if the trials are working, then the trials are working, if you know what I mean. 1,000 fans that in a 30, well, I don't know what Ipswich is, 33 to 35,000 seater stadium. I think they can find out a way to do the trial safely, and I think with time they should allow them to implement that again. And I think with these sort of non-league stadiums out in these open areas and the long stands, I think that they could afford to have fans there if sort of properly, during the week in the FA Cup, in the FA Cup qualifiers, they had some fans there, which seemed to have gone all right. But with the EFL, it seems that they've already started the trials. Nothing's changed as long as no one has, anything is that there's been no major outbreak because of it. I don't see why they just can't continue.
Yeah, well, now I know we're not politicians, and I don't like to talk about politics here, but we are football fans. We love the game. We love it extremely much. We haven't been to a football stadium for well over 6 months now. I think we can now safely say. I think the last time I went was the 7th of March. Perfectly honest. I think you were the same down at Piers. I don't.
Yeah.
You went to Fleetwood, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, that was the few days before. Yeah, so long time for all of us to go. But should football fans be allowed back in stadiums? All the stadiums have to apply to the new rules now. But should we have them back? should they be allowed back, or is it just too, I don't know, optimistic to have them back now? And just nobody knows what's going to happen, but should they be allowed back? That's the main question.
Well, yeah, of course, nobody knows what's going to happen in the future. We don't know what's going to go on with the cases, how they're going to rise. But I think if stadiums have in place, a way of fans to come to the stadiums and it's going to be safe, I think they should do that. It's a no-brainer. I think, having no fans in stadiums, as we said before, is going to be massive for lower league clubs. And we're going to have more and more instances where, lower league clubs are going to go out of business. For example, Macclesfield, they've been, told that they have like 500 grand in debt. Without fans, how are they going to pay that back? It's going to be impossible for them. So they look like they're going to go bust again. That's the second club in 2 years. So it's massive. It really is. And, I think everyone in England, all football fans in England, miss going to a football game. The feeling you get from a football game is like nothing else. I know Ipswich have been awful in the last 3 years, but I'll never regret going to Portman Road and the feeling it gives me. So, yeah, I think that if stadiums can put in a safe way to do it, I think fans should be able to go into watch games at the stadium, definitely. Yeah,
I can only totally agree with Dan. I mean, I don't want to talk about, too much about politics, but, if people are allowed to do certain other things, then I don't see why, they can't go to football stadiums. And if they're worried about the players catching it from, I don't know, fans, then in these bigger clubs, then just sit the fans in the upper tiers. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure they'll be far away enough, and just have fans at sort of the rows sort of towards the ends and have them social distance. I don't see why that couldn't work. These stadiums aren't. It's not a park. Do you know what I mean? They're not on a park pitch where everyone's by the touchline. These are 20, 30, 40,000 seat stadiums. I know in the lower leagues that it gets low and low, but there's still some big stadiums in those lower divisions, and even in those lower divisions, they can still separate people properly. But I mean, I guess it's out of our hands, and I think being football fans, maybe sometimes we're probably a little bit biased, but I mean, hopefully we can get people back as soon as possible.
Yes, hopefully soon we can return back to football stadiums because we all miss it. I think if you're a football fan, you say you don't miss it, you're lying. you're lying straight away. But unfortunately, well, when we come back, we'll be doing a little bit more. We might be doing a little bit of a football roundup, I think.
Pitchside Talk, footy debate from the Premier League Outback.
Well, welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio Friday at 5 p.m. on a Friday, not a Wednesday anymore now. The time has now changed. And, well, before I forget to mention, if you want to follow us on any of our social media, it's pretty simple. Twitter's at Pitchside Talk, Instagram's Talk_pitch, and YouTube and Mixcloud are Pitchside Talk, where you can, if you've missed any of this show, if you joined us late on the live show, you can listen back to it whenever you want to. If you missed something on Ipswich Town, go and listen to that. Why not? I told a little white lie there. We're at the end of the show, unfortunately. The referee's about to blow his whistle for full time before he goes to VAR and gives us all a red card for talking about politics, which I do not like to do on the show as the number one rule, but we have unfortunately done that. We're sort of breaking the rules, haven't we, a little bit, guys, here?
Yeah, a little bit. But, it's something that's happening that's important. So it's good that we're talking about it, I think.
We better talk about it. Well, I've got to mention what's coming up after us today. So we've got the Gap Year show 6 until 7, the Reverb 7 till 9, and this little show called Flip the Switch. Never heard of them. They're on 9 till 10. So, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yes. You'll hear Piers once again. That's the show we're doing a little loan deal with. I've got to go and buy some Sports Direct mugs to go and do some payments, I think. That's the little agreement there. But I want to say thank you for listening to this week's show. I've been George. I've been joined this week by Dan and Piers as always. I'll see you guys next week. Down for another show?
Yep, definitely. Yeah.
Good to be back on IO Radio, isn't it, guys? It's really nice, isn't it?
It is.
It's
nice to be back.
It's nice to be back. Well, I've been George. We'll see you next week, and ciao.
See ya.
The whistle has been blown for full time. Tune in next week for another jam-packed show.